For those of you listening on the pod,
welcome into hour two. Let's talk a little wide receiver, boys. What we think?
Yes.
All right. Before we start diving into stuff, as always, I like to ask you guys, got any thoughts going into this conversation? When you look at the wide receiver room, obviously you pick up a couple of wide receivers, rookie wide receivers. You've got Christian Watson, who's going to be on IR most likely middle of November. I imagine would be the earliest he would come back. So there's going to be some things shaking up. We got guys on the roster that we like. We're going to talk about all of them, Bo Melton, Malik Heath, all those guys. As I got roasted on Twitter the other day because someone said that we laughed them off the show for Julian Fleming. They seem to think that's going to be the next Jerry Rice. But any opening arguments or comments here, Tim, as we get ready to talk wide receiver?
I mean, McCall Hardman's the oldest receiver in the room, right? He's 27.
Great.
So, we're not getting any major veteran changes there. We're looking at our younger guys kind of coming into their own right now. It's a shame that Scoot is hurt, going into this year, but he's hitting his stride and just caught a nasty injury at the wrong time. But, I think all in all, there's a lot of talent and there's a lot of them. We got to try and figure out how to whittle this receiver room down to maybe 7. I mean, what do we think we're going to break camp with? Maybe 7 receivers. It's going to be an uphill battle, but one that's worth watching. And I think there's a lot to be excited about in the receiver room, especially after the 2 draft picks that we just picked up this past week.
Yeah, I think there's going to be a lot of practice squad manipulation there, just kind of working some of those guys up and down. But you're right, Tim. Where are we going to go? I think we're going to have to go through our numbers and kind of see. Same with the O-line. I know we're about to talk about wide receivers, but at some point you got to make the decision on who's going to be dressing and who you're bringing with. But yeah, I'm kind of excited. I really was thinking about Matt earlier today. Just like, I'm ready to see what Matt can do with this offense, with a good running game, a healthy QB, and a bunch of weapons. Doesn't matter if they're 1, 2, 3, 4, 5s. I mean, you can throw the ball to any one of them, right? It's all about the defense you're playing against, concepts, decision making, all that. So it's I really am excited.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought up the Jordan Love injury because 3 different injuries over the course of last season. Starting in week 1, he still finished 5th in QBR. Now, listen, the main thing with his game last year and the main problem with the offense, albeit we had a good offense, we had a legit top 10 offense, was turning the ball over. You got to protect the football. And Jordan Love loves to push the ball down the field. And you just got to get a little bit more consistent with the checkdowns, right? And it's funny because there's other fan bases that call their quarterback check down Charlie, right? We don't have that problem. We're going, Jordan, just check it down. Don't try to hit the home run here. And he's running for his life going, hell no, we're throwing this thing 70 right here. We're going to chuck it down the field, which when it hits, we're excited. When he throws a pick, we're upset, right? So I think with a healthy Jordan Love, you're going to see his game improve. The passes are going to be more on target. And here's the thing. Yes, the receivers led the league in drops last I heard. But there are still some people in the media that make it sound like Jordan was just the most accurate quarterback in the league.
Right.
It was not the case. As always, the truth is always somewhere in the middle, Tim. You know what I mean? Like Jordan wasn't as bad as the Jordan haters claim he was, and the Jordan apologists, the receivers weren't as bad as they try to make them out to be. Everybody kind of picks their corner and they dig in. It's funny, too, because the people that are saying that were the ones doubling down on Josh Myers last year, saying he is not a bad offensive lineman. Then he goes and gets $1 million from the Jets. Well, they ain't said another damn word about that whole conversation. They just move on to the next thing that they're excited about being wrong about. But anyway, let's dive into the wide receiver room and let's get it. So introducing your 2025 Green Bay Packers receiving room. It may be a little bit hard for you guys to see. It's a lot easier to see on the site, but I'll just read them off for you. In terms of PFF grades, Mecole Hardman leads the way to 72.8, albeit only 115 snaps last year where he was banged up. Now, keep in mind, this is a guy that caught the game-winning touchdown in the Super Bowl a couple years ago, so it's not like this is just some scrub off the streets. He's got blazing speed when he's healthy. He's got a return ability and value there as well. He's a guy that can play underneath. He can also stretch the field a little bit, although he's not a big body like Christian Watson, right? So 72.8. And his running grade, by the way, was an 85.8 last year. So you can get him involved in some jet sweeps. Jaden Reed, 71.7. So he was the 50th highest graded wide receiver in the entire league, removing the minimum snaps or whatever it is that PFF has, right? So with that being said, being 50th, he's a solid number 2 receiver. His rookie year, some would say he's breaking into that. He could be a number 1 receiver, right? Romeo Doubs was 56th at his position with a 69.7. Christian Watson, albeit he's going to start on IR, was 60th last year with a 69.1. Dontavion Wicks was 73rd last year with a 65.1. And Bo Melton was 86th with a 63.2. Malik Heath came in at a 62.9. So those are your PFF grades. Now, obviously, in that wide receiver room as well is Julian Hicks, rookie Savion Williams, rookie Matthew Golden, LaDedrick Griffin, and Cornelius Johnson. Now, this does not include the Julian, what was his name again? Fleming. So he needs to be on this as well, which I don't think he has a shot at making the 53. Me personally, I could be wrong.
Who?
Easy, Tim. That got me in trouble on Twitter because we played that, and they said we laughed at the show. Unbelievable the feelings that people have. So those are your PFF grades for those. Now, PFF grades are not everything, right? Let's get into some of the advanced metrics, and I'm going to come back to you guys. I want to get your take on the room as a whole, and we'll move through the article. So let's go to EPA per target. We just showed you where Malik Heath was the lowest of the receivers that had grades with a 62.9, right? Well, here we are with EPA per target. He actually led the Packers at a 0.57 EPA per target, expected points added per target, okay? Second is Jaden Reed with a plus 5.0. Third was Tucker Kraft. We're not going to talk too much about the tight ends, but we included them in this regard. A 0.47. We're good there. Ben Sims, a 0.40. Romeo Doubs is the third best receiver with a plus 0.35. Christian Watson, plus 0.30. And then Josh Jacobs. Then you got Bo Melton with a minus 0.14. Bo Melton did not have a good year last year, right? Dontavion Wicks did not have a good year, minus 0.17. All right. And then, of course, you got Luke Musgrave, John Fitzpatrick down there toward the bottom. So, again, that's EPA per target. So that metric would suggest your most efficient wide receiver last year, given his opportunities, was actually Malik Heath, even though the PFF grade disagrees with it, okay? Next, you've got yards per route ran, okay? So yards per route ran, Christian Watson led the way at 2.4. You guys know he was – when he was on the field, he was playing damn good football, right? Yep. He was really getting yardage. Second is Jaden Reed, only 1/10 of a yard behind in yards per route ran with 2.3. Then it was Tucker Kraft, 1.8. Then Romeo Doubs, 1.8. Look who it is here. Malik Heath at a 1.6. Then Dontavion Wicks, 1.5. All right, then Bo Melton a little bit further down the list at a 1.1. The reason we're walking through this, guys, and I don't mean it to just be a podcast about reading numbers, it's to get an idea of, okay, who underperformed and who might be on the chopping block, i.e. a candidate to go on the practice squad, right? What I'm noticing, looking through these early, just these early numbers here, is Malik Heath probably going to be that dude that's going to make the 53, at least unless he takes a huge step backwards, right, at camp. Next, you've got target percentage. So I just wanted to point out who got, when they were on the field, they got targeted the most in terms of percentage with snaps. Now, you got to throw a lot of these out. Andrew Beck, he only played in 3 games. He's leading the way at 33%. Some of you guys are going, who? Marshawn Lloyd only played in 1 game. His is at 33%. So the next one is Dontavion Wicks at 27.1%. So you can really see, and this is where the story comes into full focus with the Romeo Doubs being upset. Dontavion Wicks did not play good last year. That's what you call a sophomore slump. His rookie year, he was excellent. He played really good football. Took a step back last year. Now look at Romeo Doubs' perspective, where he knows Dontavion Wicks is the guy that they want to be the X receiver, and he's getting the larger percentage of targets, right? And he's seeing himself coming up on a contract year. That's why Romeo Doubs, in my opinion, was frustrated. Like, damn, I'm more effective at catching the football. I'm more effective at creating separation. Maybe not separation, but overall as a wide receiver. And I'm losing snaps going into a contract year. I've watched the Packers for a long time. This is common practice in the NFL, guys, that when you approach a contract year, unless you're Devontae Adams, that's our dude, we're going to pay him. They'll start to try to bleed some of those targets into a cheaper, younger player. You know what I mean, Emilio?
Yeah.
You do it on Madden all the time, don't you?
All the time, dude. I'm not trying to pay him top dollar. So you got to, if his production, if he's under 1,000 yards, under 700 yards, hey, you didn't get, your milestone to give me 13 touchdowns and turn yourself into a 99. So you're right.
I just caught the ball.
What I want you to do, Romes, but we did. You kind of got to work it around him. Obviously, we had Jordan Hurt for some of that. You had Malik Willis in some of that. We had to lean on the run game for some of that. But as you start to look back on the season, it's tough when you're just out there running go balls all the time just to pull the defense, and the dude's running the dig, and he gets the look every time. So I could see the frustration for sure.
Yeah, Tim, anything stick out to you as we get ready to go a little deeper into this target percentage so far based off what we've said? You understand what I'm saying with Malik Heath? It's kind of like kind of popped a little bit.
Yeah, and that's a guy who put together a really solid year again last year, already coming off of the previous season, which he showed a lot of flashes. And I remember the end of camp last year, trying to figure out who was going to make this team, and I was fired up when Malik Heath made the squad. And I agree. I think he's a guy that is, if you're talking about bubble players, that dude, you got to keep him around. Or at the very least, Malik Heath is going to go down swinging. That guy is not, I don't see him taking a step back. Maybe he doesn't continue to, excel or something, or maybe he hits a wall, but I don't think he's going to regress. And you're going to get the best out of him. So if anything, that's going to pick up these rookies and pick up these other guys in the receiver room at camp this year.
Yeah. And Christian Watson, 20.6% target percentage when he was on the field, right? And again, you've seen his targets go down, but I felt like he was more effective, obviously, with the 2.4 yards per route ran. And it was kind of, 2023, they tried to force the ball to him in the first quarter of the season, and the Packers were struggling. Finally, they got hot a little later in the year because they stopped forcing him the ball. Right. He started the year last year not forcing him the ball, and things turned out a little bit better. Now, it just so happened that obviously the injury steps in there. Ron Samuel in the chat says, I want Heath to make the 53. I haven't yet seen his downside when he gets his chances. I completely agree, Ron. I think to that catch he made in New York that should have been the game winner against the Giants.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's stolen from us.
Yeah, exactly. So next you got Jaden Reed with 20.5%. What's crazy is Jaden Reed led in yards, right? I want to say he was second in touchdowns, or I know his touchdown number went back a touch. Jaden Reed was on pace to have more production than DK Metcalf if he had continued to get the target rate that DK got. So for whatever reason, Jaden Reed's target percentage goes down. Now you had the ankle injury that comes into play. And again, back to trying to force the ball to Dontavion Wicks. Now, there's a chance that could be a Jordan Love thing, but I have a hard time believing that Matt LaFleur would have just let that happen. Like, Jordan's just going to go out there and force the ball to Tay Wicks. We've seen Tay Wicks had a drop issue. He had a drop issue in college. His rookie year, it wasn't as bad, and he looked really good. He was starting to, grade out really well at PFF. So next, in terms of wide receiver, Tucker Kraft's on there at 17%, leading the tight end way, I believe, in terms of, guys who had a significant amount of snaps. But that's all the wide receivers there with target percentage. So you're starting to see everything kind of come into focus with what actually happened with the wide receiver room. Next, you got catch percentage, all right? Let's cut out all the minimal snap stuff. I just want to say this. Chris Brooks and Josh Jacobs especially. Josh Jacobs ran 232 routes last year. He was targeted 43 times, and he caught the ball 83.7% of the time. That was one of the things that we were unsure with Josh Jacobs, is because he struggled his final year with the Raiders of catching the football a little bit, or at least getting involved in the passing game. Matt LaFleur, he had that at the forefront. I just wanted to mention that in passing there. But catch percentage, Ben Sims, 80%. You go on down to the first wide receiver leading the way. Guess who it is, guys? Malik Heath, 76.9%. You see what I'm saying? Like, everything just pops for Malik.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. His name is spelled D-A-W-G because he's a dog.
Jaden Reed, even though he had the drops issue, 73.3% catch percentage. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. So we'll see drops in certain situations with Jay Reed, and they think, okay, he just can't catch the damn football now. That was not the case. The targets went down significantly, is why you didn't see him in the back quarter of the season. And it drives me crazy hearing sports radio hosts talk about he had a real down last quarter of the season. It's like he wasn't getting targeted. Like you can't say he had a down quarter of the season, final quarter of the season, when the ball wasn't getting thrown his way. You just can't do it. And I think it's a combination of things, Amelia. I think he wasn't completely healthy from the ankle injury. I think that nagged him a little bit. But also, I think that defenses caught on. They get paid too, and they started hammering down on him. And Christian wasn't in the lineup to pull that pressure off of him. Now you get Matthew Golden, whole different ballgame.
Absolutely. I mean, and that's that speed threat that you kind of need to rely on depending on the body type. Doesn't matter. Just being able to stretch the field vertically. We kind of wanted that from Musgrave. If we could get a big body to do that, we haven't seen that happen too much either. But, then you're looking at the game started. The only one that was there for every single game was Josh Jacobs and Tucker Kraft. I mean, those are our two sturdy, reliable guys that are starting every game. Obviously, with the receiver, you're working on it. But Christian was 15 for 15. Romeo 13 to 12. So then you kind of work your way down, and it's like we're always kind of rotating through the receivers either way. That's where you do need to kind of find those 5, 6, 7 that you really like that you can rely on. And if we can get 17 out of 4 of them, that's the idea. That's where we want to be. And then rotate them in if they need a breather. If, we ran too many jet sweeps or, motions or orbits or whatever, just to try to get the defense keeping them honest, then rotate the next guy in and keep moving.
Definitely. All right. So next you got Tucker Kraft, 71.4%. Luke Musgrave, 70%. Albeit it was just 63 routes with the injuries, but 70% pretty solid. So next you've got Romeo Doubs at 63.9%. Christian Watson, 54.7%, and then Dontavion Wicks at 51.3%. The way I kind of look at the catch percentage is, if it's an on-target pass, think of completion percentage. And if it's lower than that standard 63 to 65% completion percentage, not a good look on that receiver. That's why when you look at Jayden Reed at 73.3% and Malik Heath at 76.9%, solid performance there. Now, when you get to Dontavion Wicks at 51.3, that's not going to do it, right? Christian Watson, more of a shot play guy, it's going to be a lower number, right? But again, you're getting the yards per target, right, or yards per route ran higher because you're stretching the field with him. That kind of balances your offense out. Bo Melton, 47.1%. I want people to understand I'm not slandering Bo Melton's name here. I think he might be my favorite Green Bay Packer, but it just sucks to see these numbers because it's like, man,
he might be the first cut.
Exactly. Right. And we'll get into that here in a second, kind of what the early predictions are. Next, you've got catch rate over expected. Okay. So this is kind of taking into consideration the situation the player was put in, what was expected to happen, and what's their catch rate. Okay. Leading the way, Ben Sims, 15.8%, John Fitzpatrick, 9.7%. Look at the top for receivers. Malik Heath, 9.7%.
Dog.
Then you got Luke Musgrave, 7.2%. Christian Watson, 5.2%. And then it drops off down to Romeo Doubs at plus 2.9%. Jayden Reed at plus 1.2%. So there you're seeing some of the drops and the missed opportunities kind of coming into factor a little bit with Jayden Reed and talking about how he had a little bit of a down spell there. And then the one that hurts here is Bo Melton, minus 6.9%. Some people see the Tucker Kraft minus 2.1% and think, how does that make sense? He had a good year. If you'll notice, Tucker Kraft, the majority of his yardage in production he was running butt naked through the trailer park, and then he was running people over, right? Yep. And that's not a negative on Tucker, but it just kind of goes to show that when he's put in a situation where he's supposed to catch the football, more times than not, I don't want to say more times than not, but a little worse than some other players on the team in terms of not maximizing that opportunity. Bo Melton, though, once again, minus 6.9%. And then here's the Dontavion Wicks and the drops coming into play. Minus 12.4%. That is horrible. Absolutely horrible.
His receiving is tough.
I don't know what Andrew Beck did to piss Next Gen Stats off, but minus 74.1%. Not a good look, though. So, with that being said, Is there any other stat y'all want to look at there before we move on to contractual obligations to these receivers, or anything else you want to add to the conversation?
No,
Tim?
I think the only thing I thought of is you mentioned Josh Jacobs, being the threat that he was last year in the pass game. I think, we saw a little bit more of that from Emmanuel Wilson in year 2 as well. You look at his numbers, provided some pretty good reps as a receiver out of the backfield for us. So, and then you couple that with the tight ends. We talk about how deep the receiver room is. It's deeper than just the wideouts, and that's what we're focused on now. But it's important to remember that, because we're talking about guys that we really love that may or may not make the team. You talk about a Bo Melton or a Malik Heath trying to fight for that last potential roster spot. With these 2 lightning in the bottle type of rookies that we just picked up in the draft. So it's important to remember that, no matter who gets cut, or, if they end up keeping 6 or they keep 7 or whatever they decide to do, we have pass catchers in multiple position groups. And this offense is going to be humming for sure in 2025.
I think that's key. The multiple positions. I think that is one could be our strength. 2 could be, something that we can lean on if we're having issues. Like, you can work per game, based on the defense you're looking at. If you're going against a Vic Fangio defense with 2 high shell, all right, Josh, your time to shine. Let's open up the play action, and let's get a little bit more under center play action. I think with Jay Love's knee getting better, being able to turn the back. Don't we all remember Aaron Rodgers? I love those really long, drawn out stretches, and then spin, naked bootleg on the backside and just throw an air ball over the top, man, and just let that thing drop in the bucket and take it to the house. But that's something I think that I'd love to see a little bit more of. But to do that, you need production from, kind of like you were saying, Tim, each of those groups, running back, tight end, and then your wide receiving core.
Yeah. Yep. Naked bootleg. That sounds like a move that Jacob's performing right now at work. So,
only if you're tipping extra. Only if you tip extra.
Yes. Demetrius is like, don't make a comment like that, then read my comment. What the hell's wrong with you? Demetrius in the chat said, there's a lot of guys in the wide receiver room. It's going to be interesting training camp and to see who makes it. I could not agree more. I mean, there's going to be camp battles everywhere that I'm already getting fired up about. And again, that's something where the Patreon group will kind of walk you guys through it. Essentially what the Patreon group is going to be is a hub. It's going to be kind of command central for the 2025 Green Bay Packers season. That's what we're going to use it for. Any and all information that's important we'll put up in there. That way you guys can keep up with the camp battles and all that. But like Demetrius says, the wide receiver room is going to be a blast.
Mm-hmm.
Respect on just says Andrew Beck had someone at Next Gen Stats mom rated really low on the board. Obviously carrying on the conversation from last night. Here are the contract situations for each of these receivers. Okay, Romeo Doubs obviously going into the last year of his deal. He's $3.5 million against the cap this year. Christian Watson last year, his deal $2.9 million against the cap. Jayden Reed has one more year left on his deal, obviously 25 and 26. This year it's 1.9. Next year it only jumps to 2.2. That's money well spent for Jayden Reed. My goodness. Mecole Hardman only $1.4 million against the cap. He'll be an unrestricted free agent next year. Dontavion Wicks is under contract for 2 years, $1.1 million this year, $1.2 million next year. Malik Heath, this is the guy we keep talking about, right? Okay, what do we got to do to re-sign him? You ain't really got to worry about it. He's a restricted free agent next year, and that's the beautiful thing about landing an undrafted free agent and signing someone in the practice squad and getting a futures deal kind of put into place, that type of thing. You have rights to them for quite some time. Only $1 million against the cap this year, but a restricted free agent next year. Bo Melton, same thing, $1 million against the cap, restricted next year. Okay. Then you got Julian Fleming. This is the all-world wide receiver that some people like to talk about, that I think he graded out in the 50s for 4 straight years on PFF. $800,000 against the cap, $1 million against the cap, $1.1 million against the cap, and then he's a restricted free agent. You're going to hold up. He's got a 3-year deal. That's a futures contract. That's when you sign someone as an undrafted free agent, you've got rights to them for some time. That's why Malik Heath and Bo Melton have been here for as long as they have, and we still got rights to them. So that's that unrestricted free agents. It's why Goody spends some of his top 30 visits on those type of guys. Like, for example, what's his name? Taylor Elgersma, right? I believe is his name. The quarterback out of Canada. Do a little research on him. It's a very exciting prospect. I think that's someone that they had him in for the top 30 visit. First of all, okay, is this dude the real deal? Does he got the right stuff? Okay, he does. Cool. Here's what we want to offer you if you don't get drafted, because they knew he wasn't going to get drafted.
Right.
Go ahead and get the offer on the table so he knows. All right. Now, here's the deal. To the best of my knowledge, he hasn't been signed to the practice squad, but he's invited to minicamp. But they're already familiar with one another. You know what I mean? He's also invited to the Buffalo Bills camp. And I mention that because if they end up getting him like that and you stash him on the practice squad, keep in mind if a team tries to poach him, he's got to go on the 53. Probably not a team that wants him on the 53-man roster. But now you have rights to him for 3 to 4 years, and you can bring him up on the scout team. And who knows, you might look up in 2 years and go, there's our backup quarterback for the next 2 years. You know, because Malik Heath, you're not going to want to keep him around forever because he is going to cost a little bit of money when it comes time for him to hit free agency.
Right.
So next you got Ladedrick Griffin. He's going to be an exclusive rights free agent next year, which basically you'll have him back. Julian Hicks, same thing. Cornelius Johnson, same thing.
Yeah.
So,
see, Julian Hicks is the one I'm excited about. You know, like the only thing working against him is the age factor. He's not, you know, he's already 26. He's not getting any younger. But if you guys remember last year, he kind of popped towards the end of the preseason into camp. Showed some flashes, and I think again he just got overcrowded in that receiver room, and he found his way to the door. But there's a lot to be excited about when you look at these guys. And to your point, the ones that we may be scratching our heads about, those guys are under contract. We don't have to worry about them, and we know that moves will be made with guys like Jaden Reed in the near future. And you talk about McCall Hardman. He's here on a 1-year deal, right? If he pops, has an immaculate season and helps us win a Super Bowl, I'm sure they'll offer him another contract at some point. So it's a lot to look forward to this year, I think, looking at this room.
Yeah. Margin Cron says, Clifford truthers sound off. And here's the beautiful thing about that. Clifford is 2 years into this program we're talking about. So you still got rights to him. If you move on from Malik Heath next year and you don't find a quarterback in the draft you really like as a backup, then he steps into the backup role, knowing the offense completely. And now the new Sean Clifford is Taylor Elgersma. You see what I'm saying? That's right. How they like to kind of operate in the backup quarterback spot. So Do You Rant said that Canadian quarterback won the trophy equivalent to the Heisman Trophy in Canada last year. We got to read again. Go to patreon.com/PackerFan Total Access and just scroll through and you'll see the article. I told the guys, I'm like, why am I wasting my time writing about a Canadian quarterback that's not going to be on this team? And when you get to the final year of that, I was like, this dude balled out.
Now we know why he got the invite, right?
Yeah. Yep. And can run the ball too. Like it was wild to see what he did there.
Absolutely. And I mean, just going to our wide receiver real quick before we get off it, we're under 3% for the entire cap. For the entire wide receiver room, I mean, 3% of the entire cap is our wide receiver room.
Yep.
And who's our highest paid? Rome, right?
Yep.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
And if you hit on Matthew Golden and Savion Williams, if you just hit on one of them, let's say Savion ends up being the dog and Golden's a bust, right? Then you got yourself in a position that, all right, if Savion is your future number one receiver, kind of like a Devontae Adams was back in the day, you've got him on 3 more years outside of his rookie year that you determine, okay, he's the dude. You're as we say, show crapping in high cotton, right? It's a good problem to have.
There'll be some tough decisions to make, though, because, you talk about Tay. That was a guy a lot of us fans were willing to run out of town after his second season. And if we would have cut and ran from him too soon, we would have watched him go somewhere else and become the dude that we know him to be to this day. So, I do not envy Goody and Matt LaFleur and the boys trying to figure out who's going to stick around here. But again, like you said, Clay, a good problem to have. You could have a receiver room full of nobodies and very low talent pool, and that's not what we have right now in Green Bay.
Yeah. So let's talk the rookies real quick as we're coming down the final stretch here. Matthew Golden, I love that picture, by the way. Is that not the sickest pic right there? So PFF grades 65.3, 68.4, 74.0. Not going to spend a whole lot of time on this. We talked about it leading up to the draft. We covered him pretty extensively. Out wide, 664 snaps. Slot snaps, 175. So you want him out wide. He fits the moving Z perfectly, although on Chalk Talk last night, we pointed out he can play X as well, right? Maybe not your quintessential X, your prototypical X, I should say, but he can play X and play it effectively. So, and again, if you guys want to check out that Chalk Talk, it's also in Patreon. You're kind of getting the theme. Everything is going to be stored there. You can go back and watch it if you missed the show live. So that's what he looked like in college in terms of PFF grades. Now, I wanted to hit on this real quick, and it's going to be hard to see, but I'll try to read it to you guys. I'm going to kill my camera because I'm going to get up in here real close real quick. And so here is how he graded out in terms of where he lined up, okay? Or I'm sorry, where he was targeted. 20 yards down the field or more, his receiving grade was 99.6. I'm going to repeat that. When he was targeted down the field, more than 20 yards, his receiving grade, according to PFF, 99.6. Medium, 10 to 19, as we showed you guys last night, that 14-yard curl he loves to run at Texas. And curl in, work out, jab back inside, and here comes the yak, right? 96.6 was his grade. And you go, okay, well, he's a deep threat, deep to medium. Well, hold on a second. Short, 0 to 9 yards, 90.4 PFF grade. And you're probably going, well, why is this PFF grade so low, Clayton? You got run blocking involved, right? You got a running grade, too. If he got the ball, maybe he wasn't as effective there. That stuff comes into play as well. Penalties will hurt that as well, right? So in terms of depth and the throw chart, deep left, 92.6, deep center, 95.7, deep right, 94.3. Intermediate left, okay? So you're talking about that 10 to 19 yards on the left side of the field. It was only a 72.4. You guys remember last night on Chalk Talk? The majority of his highlights, he was on the right. You remember that?
Yep.
So keep that in mind. That's important too. Anybody who's ever played the game of football, some people catch easier over the left shoulder as opposed to the right. You know, like for example,
we saw that with Scoot.
Yes,
in his rookie year.
Yep, exactly. So like, if like when I played ball, if I'm playing right wide receiver, I can catch anything over my left shoulder. But boy, oh boy, you throw it over my right shoulder, I have to turn my hands underneath and catch it like side catch as opposed to just over the shoulder hands catch, if that makes sense. That's something that really, really comes into play. Now, the great receivers can catch with their eyes closed, right? Intermediate center, though, 94.7. Intermediate right, 92.0. Short left, he was effective, 92.5. So you can kind of get around that. Short center, 66.8. Not as good on the stab routes, the mid curls, those type of things from the slide, right?
The only red on his chart, right? Look at the drop rate.
Exactly.
Yep.
Probably not as comfortable sitting in the middle of the field. That's okay. Put Malik Heath over there and let him.
Yeah, exactly. Send Tucker Kraft on that route.
Yeah. Short right, 89.4. And then behind the line of scrimmage, he was not effective at all. 60.9, 60.9, 60.9, albeit there's only one target on all three. So just throw that out the window, right? So again, what that chart shows you is where is he most effective? Guys, he's deep threat. Intermediate to deep threat is what he is. And he's probably going to be that guy that lines up on the right side of the formation the majority of the time. Now, why do I mention that? I mention that because the reason that some of these rookie receivers don't get on the field as much is because they're not good at everything. Maybe he's not as effective on the left, and Matt's not going to just go, okay, we're not going to throw to the left. He's going to try to put him on the right, and that's going to limit his snaps a little bit, I would imagine. Now, I hope he's on the field 100% of the snaps, me personally. But that's how, when fans get frustrated, they're like, why isn't he on the field? Why isn't he on the field? Little tedious things like that come into play, especially for a young wide receiver. So,
and why would you not want to put him in the spot that's going to help him be most successful too? I mean, you don't want to set the dude up for failure. Look at his yards per route run, deep right. I mean, 10.11 yards per route run. That's crazy. So like put him in an advantageous spot to be better, to excel. That's the only way you're going to help the team. Why would you you're not going to put Jordan Love out there at receiver. It's not going to happen. So it's like, let's help him. Let's make this easier on him coming into a new team, new system, the NFL. Just get him used to what he does best, to catch the ball and run, man.
Right.
Yep. I agree. You got to crawl before you walk, man, especially as a rookie. You know, it's like some people like to jump in the pool. Some people stick their feet in for a little bit and ease their way in. And I think they're going to find the sweet spot for Matthew Golden in this offense. I really do. It's just going to take a little bit of time.
The body control that we seen last night on the tape doing Chalk Talk, smoothness in and out of his breaks, high pointing the ball, strong hands, like you said, attacking the football as opposed to letting it come to him.
Yep.
I think we may have us one there.
Like you said too, and a lot of the stuff with Matthew Golden is stuff that you can't necessarily coach. You can't
Correct.
coach instinct or reflex or the natural ability as an athlete, and he possesses all those qualities.
Definitely. So up next is Savion Williams. By the way, look at this carnage he's leaving behind him right here on this picture. Is that not absolutely awesome? He looks, and he's not even worried. He looks so just full of a cucumber.
Look at the eyes downfield, right? Love it.
So here we go. 3rd round pick 87, right? Here are the PFF grades: 58, 60, right? But minimal snaps. And then in 2022, a 58.9 jumps to a 72.4, jumps to a 78.9 his final year in college. So he actually graded out, according to PFF, higher than Matthew Golden did. And again, the main thing that sparked his offensive grade, his receiving grade 70.2, that's solid. That ain't bad at all, right? But that run grade of 90.5 is where he really excelled. So let's talk about some of the target depth here, okay? Kill the camera again. Here we go. Deep. Now, keep in mind, Matthew Golden, intermediate to deep, he was dominant, right? Well, when it comes to Savion Williams, deep, 20 yards or more, only a 74.3. Still not bad, though, right? Drop rate, pretty bad there, though, 39.5. Medium, 10 to 19 yards, 80.7 grade, but a drop rate of 34.2. So you're seeing it there.
Yep.
Short, 0 to 9 yards, 87.9 grade, and the drop grade goes up to a 50.2. And then, of course, behind the line of scrimmage is where he excelled. I believe that's an 86 or an 88 grade with an 86.7 drop rate. Smoke screens, stuff like that, right?
Talk about a great compliment to Golden, right? We just talked about Golden not being super effective in that scenario, but you look at Williams here, man. This guy's going to be a monster behind the line of scrimmage.
Mm-hmm. It's huge, Emilio, that you get these guys that are going to be complimentary of each other's game, man.
Well, that's it. My grandpa always said, one hand washes the other, they both wash the face. And I mean, that's it for this offense. If Golden can't do the intermediate middle, doesn't want to, don't need to put him on a slant. I mean, he can set a guy up in the slot and run a slant, no problem. But let's not get him into traffic if there's 2-3 linebackers over there while doing it, right? So I love that you got a big body guy that's willing and wants to be there, wants to run through contact, feels comfortable. We want him to want the ball when the game's on the line.
Definitely. Papa Petricola, boy, I tell you, dropping that knowledge. I love it. Love it. Deep left. Looks like there was only 3 targets, 59.1. So kind of throw it out, right? Deep center. Looks like there was 5 targets, 81.0 grade. Deep right, no targets. Now, intermediate left, 3 targets, 42.5. Intermediate center, we were just talking about that. Matthew Golden not working as good in the center, at least the short center. But here, intermediate center, man, Savion Williams is not scared to go across the middle at 10 to 19 yards. Yep. 88.8 is what it's showing here.
He's got more of the favorable body type for that too.
Yeah,
sending him on that route,
He's kind of built like Malik Heath, isn't he? Like he's probably a little bigger than Malik Heath, to be honest with you. Short left, here we go, 76.3 or 78.3. Short center, 85.2, nothing short right. So that short center is where he's going to make his hay, man. And then, of course, behind the line of scrimmage, 61.5 across the board. So they really used him short over the middle in the passing game. No doubt about it. So,
which is perfect because you always need a release valve, always need a crosser, always need a little whip or a little out route, little in, something like that. Just get the ball in his hands.
You know what I'm seeing, Emilio? I'm seeing the pony package where we use Jaden Reed back there.
Yeah.
Keep Jaden Reed out wide in the Z and use Savion Williams underneath. Let him run that little Texas route, that little circle route, the little angle route, leak out underneath. Oh my gosh, dude. And oh, by the way, he can also run the football. Now you got a legit threat there running the ball along with Josh Jacobs, as opposed to
he can throw the ball too.
Yeah. Right. So really, really excited to see what Savion.
They said he had the strongest arm on TCU, right? He can huck it 80 yards.
Did they really say that?
Yeah, that's what I heard.
He was a converted QB, right?
Watch me update Madden tonight when that roster drops. I can see a little wild cheese package coming in.
You might need to import the college football playbook, Clay, and run a little.
Really mix it up, right?
UNLV with the double sidecar running back, same side. Oh, love that offense.
That's awesome, man. All right. Anything else on what we've covered with the receiver room? I know we're a little bit over. We're going to wrap up a little Romeo Doubs talk here, but before we do, anything else you guys want to add to what we just covered there?
No, I'm good.
Excited to watch his tape.
Yeah,
Yeah,
for sure.
definitely do. We got to put that together. I'm trying to give Ryan time because he's going to put together an Anthony Belton tape, I believe, and I'm just going to cut up he had because he's
probably just go in order of the draft, right? Just
that would be
prospect by prospect.
And the beautiful thing is we got plenty of time, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we're going to be covering off-season stuff, obviously, and we'll get into a little history, I'm sure, as well. But up next, let's talk a little Romeo Doubs. This one isn't as exciting to talk about. This is something I don't like to try to tear people down. That's not the purpose of this. But I don't want it to be a podcast where we don't talk about things that are important, right? And Romeo Doubs' future, I think, is up in the air, and I'm going to explain why. Okay.
I just caught the ball.
And first of all, look at the Guardian cap, right? I mean, we got to talk about that. That's something that came into play. What do you have? 2 concussions in the last 4 or 5 weeks, I believe it was. Yeah. So, and listen, it's more than football in that situation, right?
Yeah.
First and foremost, Romeo's health. I think Romeo's a good dude. I wish it would work out with the Packers, but if I had to kind of put an opinion on it, that's what this whole piece is about right here on Patreon. So I said, with the Packers most likely not carrying more than 6 receivers, the question becomes, who's in and who's out? Recent rumors suggested that Romeo Doubs' camp leaked the possibility of DK Metcalf being traded to the Packers, right? Meaning Romeo Doubs was a part of that trade proposal. So you start to connect the dots. If it's been confirmed by multiple people, or at least been talked about by multiple people, the reason they knew DK Metcalf was getting traded and possibly to the Packers was because a leak came out of Romeo Doubs' camp, and meaning Romeo Doubs is a part of that trade package, right? If Goody was indeed shopping Romeo Doubs, that would suggest he's on his way out of Green Bay if the Packers could receive trade compensation as opposed to just cutting him outright with both a 1-game suspension and multiple concussions last season. So just wanted to mention that with Romeo Doubs. If I had to pick one to go of the guys that are starters on the team, it kind of feels like Goot is potentially ready to move on. Now, like Ryan talked about on his podcast, on the Packernet podcast, and he's done a great job covering this, I don't think Goody operates in definites as much as fans do, right?
Yeah.
And it's just like the Jair thing. Yeah, it's obvious Goody wanted to move on, but it's not in the best interest of the team based off the offers we got. That doesn't mean we can't keep him, right? So that's still on the table. So I think the same thing applies with Romeo Doubs. So here is the early wide receiver room projection, okay? Trade candidate, Romeo Doubs. If they can't get trade compensation for Romeo, I want him on the roster. I think he proved after the 1-game suspension, he's going to be a team player. He's going to come in, keep his nose clean and play. So why not keep him, right, if you can't get trade compensation? We drafted Romeo. Was it a 5th-round pick? Am I thinking right, Emilio? Tim, was it 4th or 5th?
Something like that.
I want to say it was 4th, but you're probably right on 5th.
So if you don't plan on re-signing him, which has kind of been the news around the Packers insiders that they don't plan on re-signing him, I know you're kind of trading down. Like if let's say it was a 4th-round pick and you have to take a 6th, at least you're getting something, right?
Yeah.
As opposed to just cutting him outright. So, and if you keep him on the team, and then he goes out and hits free agency next year, there's some extra added value in a comp pick if he goes out and has a good year. So that's on the table too. So I'm not ruling out Romeo Doubs being on the team. I'm just saying, of all the people we talk about, I think he has a little bit of trade value, and there's a little bit of precedent or fire with that smoke when it comes to Brian Gutekunst potentially wanting to move on. So
it's probably easier to trade Rome than it is to trade Ja at this point.
Yeah, I think you're right, Tim. I really do, man. Because with Romeo, albeit the concussions are the main thing, right? And don't get me wrong, that's serious. But with Ja, it's like a little bit longer in the tooth. Injury's probably going to continue to catch up a little bit more.
Yep.
So my projection, and again, we're sitting here on April 29th. This will probably prove to be wrong later, but I thought it'd be fun just to kind of take an early look at it. Let's say we carry 6. That's not to say we won't carry 5, right? But let's say we carry 6 receivers, just kind of giving the benefit of the doubt to the majority of the room. I think it would be Jaden Reed, Matthew Golden, Dontavion Wicks, Savion Williams, Malik Heath, and McCole Hardman. I think that would be the 6 you would carry. Now, on IR, Christian Watson would be on IR, so that's why some people are going, whoa, what the hell? You just cut Christian Watson? No, he's going to be on IR and won't count toward the 53. So we'll make that decision in November, and by then you'll probably have a good idea on McCole Hardman or Malik Heath, which one you want him to replace there, right?
Absolutely.
And then practice squad candidates, I've got Bo Melton listed there, Julian Hicks, LaDedrick Griffin, Cornelius Johnson, and of course, Julian Fleming will be in that ballpark there as well. Not to say we would put them all on the practice squad. That would not happen. You wouldn't carry 4 receivers, but those are the guys kind of in that camp. So with Bo Melton would be my top choice. Let's say you only carry 1 wide receiver on the practice squad. I would want it to be Bo Melton because he knows the offense. Yeah.
Yep.
So, that's all we got there. So I want to get your all's take. Do you agree with that projection? Anything we said there as we get ready to wrap up? We'll start with you. Tim. What do you think? Is there anything you agree with there, man?
Yeah, 100% of it. If that's the route we're going, if we're going to keep 6, those would be my 6. Just super early, right? We haven't seen OTAs, we haven't seen camp, nothing. I would be okay with those 6 right there, and then hopefully Christian Watson, like you said, coming back off IR sometime before Thanksgiving, hopefully in a perfect world, right? Would be great. And then, you scroll down there and you look at your practice squad guys. Obviously, Bo Melton's going to be the first name on the list, but I definitely agree with these 6 because I believe that Malik Heath is going to win that spot. I really do. I think he's going to win that roster spot, and he's proven to deserve it. You know, he brings a lot of pop to that offense. You know, he gets limited reps, but every time the guy's on the field, he makes a play. You know, whether that's a key block or a key catch. There's a handful of guys on this team that are really good at the contested catch, and Malik Heath is definitely one of them for sure. So I like that lineup.
Yeah, and I understand there's going to be people that disagree, Emilio, with the Malik Heath talk, but we just walked through all the important metrics. Like, the numbers don't lie. They don't. And it's obvious they were trying to get him some more targets as well. So,
and I think Respect Orange hit it right here. To add to Heath there, his targets and everything, the blocking is huge. I mean, Matt LaFleur leans on that more than, you could think half of his numbers. You know, if you're not out there trying to help your fellow, teammate trying to get the ball moved down the field, if you're going to just, half it, then I don't even want you on the field. That's probably what Matt's going to say, right?
There's no rock.
Hang on to the ball when you catch it, and you stop them from tackling your buddy when he's carrying it. That's all I'm asking of you.
Yeah. And again, if we talk about cluster busters in draft season, right? We talk about that all the time. That could be a cluster buster on determining the roster in the wide receiver room is, all right, you got these 2 guys, they kind of grading out the same. We like them both the same. Which one blocks better? Malik Heath will take you to the damn water cooler, right? No doubt about it. United Bates says, I could see Dobbs over Hardman, but I think this is all very fair. I could see that too, Bates. If the trade value is not there, you signed Hardman to make yourself not have to feel like you're back into a corner in the draft. You can let the board come to you. Well, the board came to you, and it was Matthew Golden and Savion Williams. So now you can part ways with Mecole Hardman because Matthew Golden can return. I don't know if they'll use him like that. Maybe Savion can return. That's possible. There's someone else we signed recently too, not a receiver. I'm trying to think of who it was that had return ability. I can't remember.
One of the corners.
It might have been one of the corners that we drafted or signed in undrafted free agency. But with that being said, if the trade value is not there and you decide to keep Dobbs, I would personally rather have Romeo Dobbs over Mecole Hardman. I'm just kind of painting that picture, and I know you understand this, that if he is going to be traded or let go, Mecole probably makes the roster. So, I want to make that clear. I like Romeo Dobbs. I think Romeo Dobbs is one of the better receivers on this team. I think he's a guy who can play in the phone booth. He can play boundary X. He can make contested catches. When he's on, he's on. And, Tim, it kind of – and we'll wrap up with this. It kind of makes sense with the whole Romeo Dobbs situation last year when he said, I'm just trying to do what's best for my family. Don't that make sense? If he felt like the targets were being steered away from him and that's going to hurt him on his contract, you know what I'm saying? That kind of feels like that lines up now. Obviously hindsight 2020. Maybe I'm reading too much into it. I don't know.
No, I think there's something there. I think that's fair. We're on the outside looking in at this situation, but I can see why he would feel that way. I mean, we as fans, we love this game, right? And it's a game. Well, it's only a game when you're on the field. Everything else is got to be about your business, and you got to think about your future because, let's be real. If you're lucky to play 5 seasons in the NFL, that's a blessing. Anything more than that is just an absolute gift. So, the concussions are stacking up on it. This is year 3 Rome is entering here. and he's been concussed multiple times, multiple years. I mean, that's a serious thing. So, and if a team has to make a business decision, you're looking at who you want to shop. Maybe there is trade value for a guy like Rome, he's Mr. Third Down man. That's the guy you want to look to. Good hands, like you said, can play in a phone booth. There is some value. Like you said, it's just trying to get the most you can for him. And if not, hell yeah, he's a Packer. Keep him on this team and let's roll forward for sure.
Right.
Because you're right. I mean, Tim, you're right. You get through that 4-year rookie deal. You're trying to get that paycheck. You're trying to get that money, to set you up for life there. There's not much else you can do for yourself besides getting the ball and making it happen on the field. And if it's not going to happen on this team, you got to show up for the next team.
Yep.
They're always looking to replace.
That's
right.
Our Aaron Rodgers, not the Aaron Rodgers. Shout out to him too, man, about the finish school and take the next step, I believe, in his studies for sports journalism. Shout out to him. That's absolutely awesome, man. Going to be out there living the dream, covering sports. Good stuff. He says, question, trade proposal for y'all. Dobbs and a 4th rounder for Greg Newsome, cornerback from Cleveland. I know I'm in the extreme minority with this, Aaron. I'm not a big Greg Newsome fan at all. I'm just not. I know there's a lot of Packer fans that like him. I believe he was highly touted coming into the draft when he came into the league. I don't feel like he's kind of lived up to those expectations. And I know Cleveland can be a dumpster fire, but they've had some pretty good defenses there in the last 3 to 5 years as well. So for me, Dobbs and giving up a 4th rounder for Greg Newsome, I don't like it unless, of course, Jair is definitely not going to be here. That makes it a little bit tougher to say no, but I think it would still be a no there. I think for Dobbs, for me, it would just be trade Dobbs for a pick. That's kind of what I would go with. What do you guys think? We'll end right there.
I would agree with that. I mean, Greg Newsome's best attribute is availability. Let's be real. He doesn't miss a lot of time, and like you said, Cleveland has been kind of a joke, but they have had some good Ds over the last few years. So, but I'm with you, man. I think if you're going to try and shop Rome's, you're going to try and get the highest round pick you can, as opposed to giving him up with a pick for, another guy. But then again, talk to us after June 1st, right? You know what I mean? We might be singing a different song. I don't think that's that crazy of a trade proposal at all that Aaron's talking about here. It seems relatively realistic, but if Ja is gone, I'd rather go the route. If you are still interested in trading Rome, get the pick and then, sign another free agent corner or something to kind of just, be a patch guy as you develop your younger guys. But, anything can happen though. Like you said, we've got a whole month to go here to kind of see how things shape up.
Yeah. What do you think, Emilio? Would you say yes or no to that trade there, bro?
I would say no to that trade. Also, just because think about how many picks Cleveland has. They just picked up an extra 1st rounder next year with their trade back for Travis. I mean, they have a lot of draft capital. I don't see why, they would need a bunch more or even want to take on a receiver at this, right needing his first contract. If they don't absolutely love Rome, why would they take him on if they could go ahead and just grab another receiver from the draft?
Yeah, that's a great point, man. In the trade talk for Romeo is whoever gets him, it's going into a contract year, So, you just renting him for 1 year unless you plan on re-signing him. So that hurts the trade value as well. So
that may be why there's a little momentum now. If Goody's trying to ship him now, the sooner the better, right?
Yeah, and that's a great question, Aaron, for sure, man. Appreciate that. All right, guys, that's going to do it. We're going to get out of here. Appreciate y'all hanging out with us. If you would hit subscribe to the channel, and always the best way to support the channel, people ask all the time, is just join the Patreon group. $3 get you access to everything, and that's the best way to stay plugged in, get yourself entered into giveaways. It's an awesome community that's being created over there by you guys, not us. It's so cool to see the chat filling up now and everybody having football conversations in there. It's really, really neat. So appreciate everybody that's a member there. We had some questions we wanted to hit. We will definitely hit them tomorrow, the Patreon questions. We just ran out of time. I wanted to get through that wide receiver room talk to kind of set the tone, set the stage for, hey, here's what the wide receiver room looks like. And Bates says, appreciate you guys. Thanks as always. Hey, thank you, buddy. Go Pack, go. We appreciate you, Bates. So absolutely. Tim, Emilio, appreciate y'all, man. Taking time out of your day. We'll be back tomorrow, 7 p.m. Central for PTA Live. As always, let's go out and be the change we want to see in the world. And go Pack, go.
And we go. We out.
Bye, guys.